You're listening to Happy Hour Hustle from the creative geniuses here at 834. We're funny, informative, and we swear. We talk all things marketing, communication, small business, plus we offer up hot takes on our industry and whatever else we feel like talking about. So, grab your drink of choice. It's always 5 o'clock at 834. And crank it up. Welcome back, hustlers. Maddie and Alayna here after a little bit of a break. We do hope you forgive us. But we're here with most of the PR team here at 834 to talk about pitching to the media, the do's, the don'ts, and the definitely don'ts. And who better to talk about this with than one of our friends from Fox 17 here in Grand Rapids, Lauren Kummer. Lauren, thank you for being here.
Thanks, guys. I'm so excited. This is my first podcast appearance, so.
Oh, this one's easy and it comes with booze, so.
That's true.
Nothing better. Lauren reports and anchors at the Grand Rapids TV station. And before we dive into the questions, we just want to get to know you a little bit better. So tell us a little bit about what got you into journalism.
Ooh, okay, well, I ask 1,000,001 questions ever since I was a kid, probably the annoying kid that wouldn't stop asking questions. And when I got into high school, we had a class that basically did the news for our high school. It was kind of the morning announcements. And I started doing that, and I would anchor it, and that was my favorite part about doing those segments, obviously getting the info too that we would present on there. And one of the teachers randomly came up to me one day. He's like, "You should do that as a job." I had no idea it was a job. You know, you hear doctor, nurse, teacher. Yeah. You don't hear, oh, you can be a news anchor. So I figured out, well, where I was from, I'm from Canada. So it's not, the news isn't as big, I feel like, as it is there as it is here. Yeah. Like, it's a bigger deal here. People watch the news there, but, like, that's about it.
Yeah.
So then I went to college for that. I applied and got my journalism degree after 4 years, and then started applying for jobs. In this market, in this career path, you start at like a very low level. So I started in Kearney, Nebraska, South Central Nebraska, and was there for 3 years, and then moved here to the West Michigan area. So I was in Kalamazoo for 2, also at Fox 17, and then moved to Grand Rapids after 2 years. So I've been in Grand Rapids 2 years. So that's kind of my stint in news so far.
That's awesome. Love it. So now we'll dive a little bit into it. Obviously, you deal with PR professionals a lot. What are the most common mistakes you see in pitches from either people or organizations? What are kind of things that you're like, oh my God, get out of my inbox?
I feel like people that aren't in news hear this term a lot and maybe don't know what it means, because I didn't before I got into news, but burying the lead. Mm-hmm. So people will pitch stories all the time, and they're missing the whole point of what will grab our attention when they're pitching the story. So they'll start with something that's, you know, everyone's pitching or whatever it may be, depending on the topic, and it won't have any depth to it. It will just be like, hey, we're launching this new thing, we'd love to have you come check it out. Or new business, hey, come check it out. We get those all the time. Yeah. So really just burying like the most important part, like what about your business is different than every other business that's going to make us want to cover, or what about whatever you're talking about is going to make us want to cover that news.
Absolutely. How do you feel about when people follow up?
I mean, you know what? Follow-ups are good because we get 1,000 emails a day in my inbox. I'm delete. And I go through it quite often. And because I am OCD with my emails, so I clean them out and I delete them. A lot of people don't. They just won't even go through them. So follow-up's nice because we all work different shifts anyway. I'm 3 to noon. Mm-hmm. And so if it doesn't come in during my work schedule, if I'm not checking it on my off time, which I'm likely not, then I'm going to miss it and I won't see it. So even a follow-up email, half the time the follow-up email is actually what I see and not the original. So it is nice to get the follow-ups. Sometimes with the follow-ups, though, it's like, hey, did you see this? And it's much appreciated because probably didn't. If I didn't reply,
probably didn't.
Yeah, or it just wasn't interesting enough where we can't cover everything, unfortunately. So that's
absolutely
the part.
Perfect. What makes a story appealing to you and your outlet?
Definitely something that makes it unique. So something like we haven't covered before, something new to the community. Obviously, that's really important. How it's going to impact the community. So things like that will also grab your attention. Think about if you were the viewer hearing of that story, what's going to grab your attention out of all of it. So think of that when you're pitching, I would say, because that's what's going to grab our attention as well.
Yeah. And how can small businesses or nonprofits, a lot of times, you know, the things that grab headlines are really flashy things, how can those groups make their pitches more appealing to reporters and things like that, and knowing how to, you know, grab your attention?
I feel like a lot of times, you know, even if it is the same story you're pitching year after year, I mean, we cover those too, you know. Hey, the local whatever nonprofit is giving away this for the holidays, or a turkey dinner for Thanksgiving. We cover that year after year. Obviously, people will attend things like that. But what more, how can we elevate it? So finding somebody that's impacted, who's been volunteering for several years, can we talk to them? Is there a family that's been there that comes year after year? Maybe they're now giving back after receiving the help, or whatever it may be. If there's a unique angle, we love that. It doesn't matter if we've covered it a million times. Give us a new story that we can cover within the same event.
Yeah, because people are always going to want to hear about Thanksgiving, or
Exactly. And I mean, just going off of the Thanksgiving meal, you know, we have that every year. People need the free Thanksgiving meal, especially with the inflation these days. So it's always going to be a listened to or clicked on story. But what more can we talk about with it other than, hey, they're giving away free turkey, which still will attract people.
Yeah.
But that's just because it's free turkey.
Yes, exactly.
How important is it to build relationships with local reporters before pitching?
I think it's really important because I mean, for example, Alayna and Maddie, you know, I talk to you guys now all the time. If your name comes through my inbox, I'm like, what are they emailing me today? You know, I mean, because it's kind of like a friend, you know, you build that relationship. And, you know, it's, even though you're friends with a reporter, it doesn't mean they have to cover everything. I mean, as you guys know, but at the same time, we have more of a drive to want to cover your pitches because you've made that effort to connect with us. I feel like a lot of times PR people are scared of us a little bit. We can make your life a little difficult if something goes wrong, you know, but, you know, we're only trying to serve the community, and that's what our job is to do. So at the end of the day, we are real people. We like to hang out. We like to come to happy hour.
Yeah.
And, and so I would say just really the connection is important. Even if you're not, you know, hanging out outside of work, just making that connection, making them know who you are. So even when you guys reach out with pitches, so for example, I know we've worked with Life Circles, you know, if we ever think of, oh, hey, we might need somebody with them to talk about something health related, then we're going to come to you and say, hey, can you get your contact with Life Circles to speak with us?
Yeah, I've always thought that too. It's just if you have that initial connection already, they know your name and it comes across. It doesn't feel as forced either. Like, hey, I need you to cover this thing right now. Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else that you wish PR pros knew?
So I kind of touched on this before, I guess, but we unfortunately can't cover everything. You know, there's only so many people that work at our station, only so many shifts. Weekends, it's like every company, you know, a lot of people have weekends off. We have less staff on the weekends. So we have the staffing, but not everything. So if there's breaking news, for example, if something happens, we can't always get out there. Even if we made a verbal commitment that we would come, sometimes breaking news gets in the way of that. And it's not that we don't want to cover it. If we can reschedule, we absolutely will. But it's about kind of just figuring out what's most important to the community at that time. And although PR pros and people who are working with companies believe that their story is the best, which it is a good story. But, you know, like a major accident that's closed down 131 is going to impact more people. So we kind of have to balance it out like that. So if we cancel last minute, it's not because we hate you guys. It's not because we're flaky. It's because we have to cover, you know, what is going to impact the most people. Yeah. If that makes sense.
No, 100% that makes sense. Yeah. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for being here. We always have the best time. Make sure to follow Lauren. We'll link to her socials in the description of this episode. And make sure to remember all of this great advice she gave. It's very good advice. Until next time, hustlers, see you on the download.